Hey everyone, welcome back to Fox Fixes Ranging with Alex. Lately, our truck, which is a Dodge Ram, has been vibrating heavily whenever we shift into four-wheel drive. After checking things out, I diagnosed the issue as worn out bolt joints on the lower control arms. The slack is likely causing all that shaking when force gets applied to the front axles.
First, let's talk supplies. You can find all of this at any local auto parts store. For this job, we'll need new aftermarket lower control arms that come pre-assembled with the bolt joints and bushings for both sides of the front end. Make sure you get the exact match for your vehicle. I chose forged steel control arms over aluminum since we do a lot of heavy towing. For the tools, we'll be using 18, 19, 21, 24, and 36 mm sockets. I've put a detailed list of all the materials and tools in the video description below. Let's start by cracking loose the 19 mm lug nuts on the tires before we lift the truck. Once it's up in the air, I'm placing heavy-duty jack stands directly under the frame for safety. With the wheels off the ground, we can pull them off and safely lower the frame onto the stands. There we go. First, we'll zip off the 36 mm axle nut, and then carefully detach the ABS line. Just watch out for the double snap connector on that clip. After that, I'm removing the brake caliper and the rotor. I'll use a 21 mm socket to pull the two mounting bolts, and then secure the caliper up out of the way using a hanger tool or a bungee cord so it doesn't hang by the rubber line. Next, the rotor slides right off. Now, we'll pull the cotter pin from the upper control arm bolt joint and back off the nut using a 21 mm socket. To unseat the upper bolt joint, you can hit the knuckle with a hammer or lift it up to relieve the tension. Once the upper control arm is free, we'll disconnect the tie rod from the knuckle with a 21 mm socket. Next, we're removing the nut from the lower control arm bolt joint using a 24 mm socket. After that, I'll pull the lower strut mounting bolt with a 21 mm wrench and a socket combo. Now, I can remove the sway bar end link from the lower control arm using an 18 mm socket. Just give it a little tap with a hammer if it's stuck in the sleeve. With all that loose, I can slide the CV axle out of the hub and hang it out of the way. Then I'll pull that lower strut bolt all the way out. Before moving to the main control arm mounting bolts, make sure to mark the alignment positions for the cam nuts. Using a 24 mm socket and wrench, we can remove those frame bolts. I actually found it easier to drop the control arm and the steering knuckle together and then hammer the knuckle off the bolt joint on the floor. Now we can get the new lower control arms into position. I'll start by sliding the frame bolts in, but I'm leaving them loose for now. From here, everything goes back together in the exact reverse order. I'll line up the sway bar end link and the lower strut bolt. Before putting the steering knuckle back on, I'm giving the contact surfaces a thorough clean. Now we're ready to realign the CV axle. Slide the lower control arm bolt joint into place. Reattach the upper control arm, tighten the axle nut, and connect the tie rod. Once everything is assembled, I'll tighten it all down by hand. You'll want to go back through with a torque wrench to torque everything to the manufacturer's recommended specs. I'll slide the rotor back on and hold it in place with a spare lug nut until I finish reinstalling the brake caliper. After tightening down the axle nut completely, I'll resecure the ABS line and put the wheel back on. And just like that, we are ready to move on to the second side, which my wife is going to do all the work. Just kidding. As a first-timer, this entire job cost us about $500 and 1 day of labor. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next fix.